TEDx talks are always interesting. They're interesting because they are spontaneous as they are creative. They are expressive, and yet there's some constraint in them. But so having to give this talk again in Calabar and speaking to an audience that is culturally diverse is intimidating, but also is exciting, especially because I'm talking about a matter that I'm very passionate about, the Niger Delta. The Niger Delta means a lot to me, not just because I love the sound of the waters, not just because I grew up going home, riding on the boat, tasting the saltiness of the sea, not just because of the smell of the river and the smell of the oceans, and not just because of our cultural essence, not just the fact that you literally feel power when you're in the Niger Delta. And I talk about power, not in the sense people talk about power, but the power of life itself, the exuberance, the excitement, all of that. And then now you go back and the cities are not the way they used to be. The communities are not the way they used to be. So much has ebbed, so much is lost. The vibrancy, the excitement, the communal spirit, but also the essence of it, the industry isn't there. And I was asking a friend, and we were thinking about it and wondering, what is it we lost? When did we lose it? What has happened to the Niger Delta? And people say there's no infrastructure, and yes, that's a problem. There is no infrastructure. But I wonder, is it just about brick and mortar? Is it just about the absence of infrastructure, of good roads, of water, of light? Is it a bit more than that? Others say, oh, you know what? It's the fact that we've lost our value system. And yes, that too is true. And some might say it's the environment, it's polluted, we don't have food, the fishes are all dead, the farmlands are all polluted, and therefore we cannot even bring out cassava that is not roasted by gas flare. And yet, is it just that? Isn't there something? What is the nexus that brings it all together? And thinking about it, I think it's a lack, or perhaps a loss of governance. That is the problem. And then some might say, are you indicting anyone? No, this is not about that. This is about the absence of a governance structure that delivers to the people. But it's worse because it's clear that the people themselves appear to like the lack of governance, the arbitrariness, the absence of structure, and the absence of a covenant with the people, a social covenant. What is it that the people expect from governance? It almost looks as if it's okay. We go through the routine, the cycle of every 4 years at the state and federal, or every 3 years at the local government. I was okay, it's okay. Very soon they'll be gone. But every day we lose a bit more of ourselves. So we talk about insecurity, and we talk about the lack of infrastructure. We talk about the fact that our children cannot go to schools. We talk about the fact that we're a region of people who were very enlightened, from where you had the first ambassador to the United Kingdom and the first ambassadors to Portugal. And then suddenly you find that you do not have children who can read and write. You find that we're beginning to talk about states in the Niger Delta being educationally disadvantaged states. And you're wondering, from when? From where? Where exactly did we lose it? And some may talk about the cost of oil. But we were a people that were industrious. Think about the riches. We're resource-rich people. All of the time we talked about trade. You see, everywhere there is water, everywhere there is an ocean, everywhere there are ports, there have been riches. Whether you were talking about Corinth of the biblical days, or you're talking about Greece, the fact is that along with water was movement, and so was industry, was trade, was wealth. You had a region where people could grow from grass to grace. So you had a King Jaja of Opobo who came here as a slave boy, but worked hard, and his industry was recognized, and he became not just a chief but a king. And you had a region of strong men like Ovora Wenogbaisi, who ruled their people in fairness, but also who were able to ensure that the people of Benin Kingdom were people who could start technology early. You had people like Nana Ovishekiri, who understood what it meant to be in charge of their trade routes. And the list is endless. Now, you had these men and women like Margaret Ekpo, and women like Queen Idia, and women like Queen Kambasa, who understood what it meant to work hard and earn their shirt. And then suddenly, from nowhere, we lose it. And like I said, some say it's the curse of oil. Perhaps we shouldn't have discovered oil in these parts. But are we the only people that have resources? Is this the story everywhere else, that there are resources? Is it just about the oil that was found? Or about a culture of wealth without putting back? Or is it about the culture of rape, where perhaps the people suddenly wondered what it meant for them to lose everything and nobody cared? But was it really nobody? Because were the communities themselves not complicit in the rape? Did you not have traditional rulers and young people, the youth themselves, partake in the rape of their own people and their own resources? So perhaps the lack of governance, or the destruction of the governance fiber, began by ourselves when suddenly we discovered the black gold. But I get tired of blaming it all on oil, because even with oil, we still had a people who worked hard. When I was growing up in Port Harcourt, the reason you were able to be proud was because you did well in school. Oh my goodness, God help you if you came back with wrong results. You know, those who didn't do well in school were the ones who had to hide their face in shame. But not anymore. Suddenly the tables turned, and we began to glorify brigandage. Where did we lose it? I sit and I ask myself these questions because my worry is, if we don't get to where we lost it, we're never going to find it. It doesn't matter the number of conferences. I know, God help me, there's so many of them in the Niger Delta. It doesn't matter how much we try to pretend that we're solving the problem. It doesn't matter the amount of amnesty that is given. If we never find out where we lost it, we're never going to be able to find it. And so my question is, where did we lose it? What exactly went wrong? How did we suddenly turn from a people that valued hard work? How did we turn from a people that loved knowledge? How did we suddenly lose the pride of being people who were intellectually superior? Where did we lose it? What is it about our politics that suddenly makes it okay to be satisfied by being a bag carrier of some other politician and not aiming for higher goals? What is it that makes it okay not to pick the best in the market for the jobs? Why is it that in our region, mediocre suddenly is acceptable? Why is it that excellence takes a back seat? How can we answer those questions? How can we resolve the nagging issues of a failure in governance? And can any of us truly say that we're not complicit? Can any of us honestly say that we're not part of the rot? Because if we ourselves do not demand more, and if we're unwilling to insist on propriety in governance, if we want to cut corners and we don't want to play by the rules, if it's okay that my brother can short-circuit the rules to make me happy, if it's all right for us to survive by rent, then it's never going to get better. Then the Niger Delta will continue to be the poor cousin that lays this golden egg and eats it by itself. Because at the end of the day, we're like the hen that lays an egg and sucks the egg. And so you can never have chicks grow out of it. Is that the region that we want to bequeath to generations unborn? Are those the values that we want to espouse? Values of brigandage? Values of disrespect, irreverence almost? Values that do not even regard our brothers next door. I grew up at a time when you were proud to be a woman from the Niger Delta, because our women were our pride. We valued them. They were elevated almost to a place of if you like, we even deified our women, pretty much. I mean, think about it. Just take another look at our ethos. And the people's ethos is formed from whatever was their religious bias. And think about it. In the Niger Delta, we deify our women. So the god of fertility is a woman. So we worship in the past the water goddess. And so you found that our women were our pride. We held them high. And so we did not abuse them. We did not disregard them. We treated them with love and respect and honor. But we also taught them to be mothers. So we raised our women, and if you check across the Niger Delta states, you will find in several ways a replication of what was like the fattening room ceremony, the grooming of women, like a finishing school. I really think it was only in the Niger Delta that you had a finishing school for girls. And so as soon as a woman hit puberty, you took her into a house and you schooled her in the art of womanhood and in the art of not just being a girl, but being a woman, a proud woman. So you taught her to walk with her head held high. You taught her to laugh in a manner where if her laughter rings through a room, you would know that she's a well-raised, well-tutored woman. You taught her to understand the things that matter, the values of the community and of the people. We took pains to groom our young. Where did we lose it? What has happened in this strange acculturization? These new vistas that have opened up before us. Since when did new become a replacement? Isn't it supposed to be that you take from the old and you take from the new and you become a better person? Every time I think about the Niger Delta and about where we are today, I think about Gabriel Okaran's piano and drums, where you are neither the piano nor the drum, where you are neither one nor the other. So we're neither a people of the past with values of the past, but we're not even as Western as we try to claim anymore. Where's the disconnect? We've almost become like an unidentifiable object. What creature are we? A creature that is neither one nor the other, neither man nor beast. How can we get it back? And that's the question I try to answer. We have to begin to bring back the values. I don't know how we can even do that. Perhaps each of us can start in our little corners. Perhaps those of us who witness the beauty in structure can begin in our homes and in our schools and in our churches to put back the values, perhaps back to the community meetings. Perhaps we can begin to insist that it's not really about the man with the biggest car or about the woman with the biggest title. Perhaps we can begin again to talk about the intrinsic things. Perhaps we can bring back a bit of that culture. You know, growing up, the masquerade display had an element of helping our culture. And I say this at the risk of drawing the air of those who think that there's nothing good about culture. Oh, but there is. Because you found that if a man stole a goat, it got into the songs. And because he didn't want anybody singing about him as the thief who stole goats, he made sure he didn't steal and get caught. If a man stole his neighbor's wife, it got into the songs. And so at the time when everybody came out to play, the children heard about this man who snuck into his neighbor's house and stole the wife. And so every time he walked, people would point at him and say, oh, there he goes. Or there she goes. That is a part of culture that we appear to lose. And yet, it was a vital aspect of our culturalization. It was a vital aspect of our socialization. It was a vital aspect of our value building. But now, you steal. And people make excuses and say, oh, that's our son. Leave our son alone. Leave our daughter alone. Is that okay? And so if it's my turn today, perhaps it will be your turn tomorrow, and the looting goes on, who suffers? You know the funny thing? All of us collectively. Because one day, that hospital that you did not build would be where you would lose your most prized possession. The road that you did not build will be where you will have the accident that might take your life. The school that you did not build will be where that child who your son or daughter will fall in love with will go to. Yes. Or the community that you did not build will be the community that will raise the armed robber and the kidnapper that will take you, and you will pay a ransom running into millions and billions because you failed to deliver on governance. At the end of the day, everyone loses. So what to do? All of us together must begin to think about it. But not just think, we must begin to take action to return the values, the intrinsic values that make us the people that we are. Because until governance functions, all of us will be dead meat.